The 50th edition of the G7 meeting has commenced. Leaders of advanced economies are meeting for a 3-day summit to discuss issues dominating the world at the moment. On the first day of the summit, the G7 leaders agreed to use frozen Russian assets to raise $50 billion for Ukraine to help in its war against the Russian forces. The political agreement was the centerpiece of the opening day of the annual summit, attended for a second successive year by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I can confirm that we have reached a political agreement to provide additional financial support to Ukraine of about $50 billion by the end of the year through a loan mechanism for the repayment of which the extra profits from Russian assets tied up in our jurisdictions can be used. We are not talking about a confiscation of these assets, but of the interest that accrues over time.
Also at the summit, President Joe Biden and his Ukrainian counterpart signed a 10-year summit. Ukraine has signed a 10-year security agreement with Japan as well on the sidelines of the summit.
We've taken 3 major steps at the G7 that collectively show Putin we cannot wait us out. He cannot divide us. And we'll be with Ukraine until they prevail in this war.
Furthermore, Ukrainian president met with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. During their meet, UK announced new sanctions designed to degrade Russia's ability to wage war in Ukraine. Sunak reiterated UK's support for Ukraine. He said they will always stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine in its fight for freedom. Italy also hosted a session focused on investments and infrastructure projects in Africa. Projects include a rail corridor that will connect southern and central Africa. It also aims to bring telecommunication cables and other infrastructure to the region. The infrastructure investments are meant to serve as an alternative to China's development efforts, which the U.S. and its allies say China uses to exert influence on developing nations. On day 2 of the summit, various topics expected to be on the agenda are the war in Gaza, migration, economic security, and artificial intelligence. Moreover, Pope Francis is set to become the first pontiff to attend a G7 summit. He will be addressing the subject of artificial intelligence at the conference. He has previously called for global regulation of AI, warning of its danger to ethics and human rights. For more on this, we were earlier joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis, who is a military expert and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube.
Yeah, it's just curious to me how many times in the 2.5 years nearly of this war, I keep hearing something's going to be a game changer, and nothing has been a game changer. And this isn't either. I mean, just the least of which, because as you pointed out, this probably is not even going to start coming in toward the end of the year. And plus, it's going down a slippery slope. When you start confiscating, whether it's the direct funds or whether it's interest off the funds, you're still seizing the assets of another country and using them for something else. And look, Ukraine is in a war against Russia. But the West is not in a war against Russia. And to take the assets of a country that we're not at war in, I think sets a bad precedent. And I'm not sure that it's going to work out good either in this case. And it's probably going to undermine the belief and the trust in the West, this rules-based order we keep talking about. This doesn't seem to be following that. And I think it's going to come back to haunt us.